Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment fans? Your homie Jay Green back right now with another review, and right now I'm about to give you my thoughts, feelings, and review of the brand new movie Till. Now, this movie was directed by Chinonye Chukwu, and this movie stars Danielle Deadwyler, Jalen Hall, and Sean Patrick Thomas, and a bunch of other amazing actors playing their supporting roles around here to bring this film to life. Now, for all of y'all out there who have no idea what this film Till is all about, it is based on a true story. We're transported all the way back in time to 1955, where we're following this young kid, Emmett Till, who goes to rural Mississippi to visit his cousins. He ends up speaking to this white lady at a convenience store in a way that he shouldn't have, especially for the time and the place that he was in, and she gets very upset about it, calls up some of her homies. They end up finding him, brutally beat and murder this kid, lynch him, okay? And then we're now following his mom's journey, dealing with that grief and trying to bring these cats that did it to justice. All right, so I'm going to start out by giving y'all some of my general thoughts. Number one, I thought this movie was fantastic. This movie is also extremely triggering for someone like myself, and I also love how this movie, the way that it was directed, it kind of plays on the opposite of movies that have come out like it before. I think this movie is for anybody who wants to understand a little bit of America's history and the way that they treat black and brown people and the way that they view our lives, and see a true story of, you know, it's very easy at times to see movies where there's maybe bigger situations jumping off with adults. But when you're watching someone like Emmett Till, you know, go through this situation and have his childhood ripped away from him and his mom's reaction to it, it kind of brings you to a different level and a different place because it is such a personal story. And the way that this film is directed, it's super duper engaging and personal in that way. So I think that this movie is for everybody, because you got to understand a lot of the things that are jumping off in this film are still happening today. All right, now thinking about some of the aspects of this movie that made it fantastic to me were some of those creative choices and the way that Chinonye Chukwu chose to direct certain scenes. One thing that we see in a lot of films like this is we're going to see that brutality and that violence. Oftentimes we're seeing it so then that way we can be engaged in the horrors and the trauma of what's really jumping off, so maybe we're a little bit more invested in the story. But I did see an interview with the director and some producers where they're talking about with this film, they wanted more so to lead with love. So in this movie, it's a very bright and vibrant color palette. Usually in a movie where it's dark and dramatic, you're going to get some more moody tones. Also, we don't really see Emmett Till being horribly beaten and murdered and hung and all that type of stuff, which is definitely a creative choice. But we do, however, see the aftermath of it. And even though we don't see him getting beat, and usually that's what you would need to be invested, because of the acting and how the quality of acting was so powerful from his mom, uncles, cousins, and everybody around that knew the family, you are so invested when it comes time and they finally reveal his body and his photo in the aftermath, because it was that photo and the images of him that swept the world, if you will, when all that stuff was jumping off back in 1955. Another phenomenal creative choice, or storytelling choice, if you will, that I think that the director did great and the writers and everybody for this film did great, was choosing to focus more so on the family at hand, maybe their reactions and their actions towards certain things jumping off. For instance, they're showing his mom a lot reacting to her son, seeing him in a box, being at the funeral service, talking to certain family members that were there when he was taken. They're showing his uncle, and you see his facial expressions when these dudes show up to his house in the middle of the night with guns to his face, understanding what the entire town would do to him and or his family if he actually stuck up for Emmett and didn't let them take him. And like when you're seeing them and their facial expressions and their reactions and their heart like pouring out on the screen, and you're kind of thinking like, man, like what would I do if I was in their position too? Like just the way that they showed more of the family reacting to all of this crazy drama and terror is almost a little bit more impactful than movies in the past where we've actually seen the face of evil. We're focusing on those white people showing up, you know, with the dogs and the whips and everything like that, and, you know, stringing someone up on the tree. That's bad enough. Yes, trauma, horrible to see. But seeing the pain and the anguish in the uncle or in the mom or in her boyfriend at the time, that shit was fucking heartbreaking. And I think that going that route again is what made the movie feel much more personal and much more engaging. And I really do feel like it hits a little bit harder and makes you feel a little bit more for Emmett and his mom and the family and this whole situation. Now, before I get up out of here with some of my final thoughts on this film, I do want to touch on some of the acting. Now, I've already said that pretty much everybody in this entire cast surrounding Danielle Deadwyler was phenomenal, and I think that they were, but god damn if Danielle Deadwyler does not get nominated for an Oscar for this film. She is phenomenal. Remember, like I said, this movie is a very personal story, but at the same time, it is a story that swept the world at one point in time, and it should again. But she is carrying this entire film, and there's moments when she's to the rooftop with her emotions. There's moments when she's playing it super calm. You have to understand that in this moment, she has lost her only child. Her husband in the war passed away, overseas and whatnot. So this is like the only piece of her husband that she has, her only child. And during this time where she's trying to grieve, she's trying to get over this like baffling thought that I'm never going to see his smile again. She still has to somehow navigate a way for this to help other people that have been in this situation. And there's a crap ton of them, right? And as we're seeing all of that thought process unfold from her, realizing that, look, I used to just think it was people over there dealing with this. It ain't got nothing to do with me. But now it's on her front doorstep. You see her acting her ass off, bringing that to life. So big ups to her. Sean Patrick Thomas, my man from Barbershop. He up in here. Save the Last Dance. Do You Want Juilliard? He's killing it in this movie as her boyfriend. Super supportive, engaging. He's right there with her. Whoopi Goldberg's killing it. Everybody in this film is doing their best to bring this story to life. And I just had to touch on that right quick. Now, last thing I want to hit y'all with is this. There are a lot of movies out there that can be considered preachy, super on the nose. They got a message, and there's nothing bad with that, right? Everybody's going to have something that they might want to say in their film. However, sometimes you do get those movies that have something super important to say, something super thought-provoking that you need to pay attention to make you go out into the world and maybe change who you are or maybe who someone is next to you, whatever it may be, but maybe those movies aren't that good. I think that what this movie did, it did it extremely well. I like how they kind of flipped it up on its head. And like I said, they don't show a whole lot of the actual brutality. There's even scenes where you're hearing people talking in the background, right? Questioning her when this whole situation goes to trial, things of this nature, but you're never really seeing those people. So it almost doesn't point a finger straight at the face of evil, but you know that that evil is there. And so based on that, to me, it kind of focuses on evil in general and what evil can produce. So I think that this movie is phenomenal for those creative choices that allowed it to do that. Go support this film. Check it out. Yo, whatever you think about it, leave it in the comments below. Let's chop it up. Let's have some open dialogue. Other than that, I hope I gave you a little bit of insight to this film. I hope it's opening soon in your area because I know it's kind of a slow release out into the wider markets and whatnot. Other than that, your homie Jay Green, I'm out.